Saying that we remain laser focused right now on Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul and on doing everything that we can to continue evacuating Americans, allies, Afghans who have worked alongside us and also other courageous Afghans at special risk. And to that end, I'm prioritizing three key concerns. First, the safety and security of our people and the people that we're trying to evacuate. As the chairman will brief you, the final elements of additional military forces continue to flow into Kabul, with about 4,500 in place as we speak. They are trained and equipped to defend themselves in their operations. There have been no hostile interactions with the Taliban, and our lines of communication with Taliban commanders remain open, as they should be. My second focus is maintaining security at the airport itself. In concert with forces from our allies, our troops have set up defensive positions around the airport, and the airport is able to function safely. Now, we don't take this for granted, and I continue to be in daily contact with General McKenzie and commanders on the ground to make sure that they have what they need to keep it safe. My third area of focus, of course, is the pace, increasing the flow of aircraft and people out of Kabul. And we've flown out several thousand since the 15th of August, and our goal is to be able to increase our capacity every day going forward. And as we build out this capacity, we're working hand in glove with the State Department, which is leading the whole of government effort to notify and process American citizens who are leaving, and to urgently identify and process Afghan applicants as well. We've dispatched small military teams to two of the airport's gates to assist the State Department consular efforts as they evaluate and process individuals seeking entry. And we expect to be able to augment that capability in the coming days. This is truly a team effort across the interagency. And throughout all of this, our U.S. service members are making exceptional efforts under challenging circumstances and showing their humanity and their compassion. So I want to thank them for their skill and their professionalism. It's not lost on me that even as we conduct this very important mission, we also continue to help our fellow Americans deal with a new surge in the pandemic, and the citizens of Haiti deal with the aftermath of an earthquake. Let me also thank General McKenzie and Rear Admiral Vaisley, who is the commander of U.S. Forces Forward, and Major General Donahue of the 82nd Airborne Division, and Brigadier General Sullivan for their leadership at this critical time. It is making an enormous difference. And they know, as I do, that there's a lot of work to be done yet. Now, all of this is very personal for me. This is a war that I fought in and led. I know the country, I know the people, and I know those who fought alongside me. And as I said, we have a moral obligation to help those who helped us. And I feel the urgency deeply. So I want to end with a word for the force and our military. I know that these are difficult days for those who lost loved ones in Afghanistan and for those who carry the wounds of war. Especially now, we mourn those who made the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. And let me say to their families and loved ones, our hearts are with you. And the U.S. military stands as one to honor those we've lost. Now, Afghan war veterans aren't some monolith. I'm hearing strong views from all sides on this issue, and that's probably the way that it should be. What's important is that each of us will work our way through this in our own way. And we need to respect that, and we need to give one another the time and space to help do it. Our greatest asset as a nation is the extraordinary men and women who volunteer to keep us all safe and their families. We honor your service, we understand your sacrifice, and we will never forget it. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to General Milley, who can talk about where we stand operationally.
Good afternoon, everyone. The United States military is focused on the specific mission of conducting a non-combatant evacuation operation from Afghanistan. This is likely to be probably the second largest NEO conducted by the United States. Our key tasks are to establish and maintain security at the Kabul International Airport, defend the airport from attack, evacuate all American citizens from Afghanistan who desire to leave this country, evacuate any third country national or allies and partners as designated by the Secretary of State, evacuate personnel with State Department designated special immigrant visas, and evacuate any other evacuees that the State Department designates. The President of the United States made a decision to withdraw U.S. forces from Afghanistan on April 14th. Since that date, we conducted a deliberate and responsible drawdown of U.S. forces to less than 1,000 with the specific task of securing the U.S. Embassy and our diplomatic presence in Afghanistan. Since then, the security situation rapidly degraded. Today, the situation is still very dangerous, very dynamic, and very fluid. And all of us can be proud of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who are executing this mission. They are currently in harm's way. That needs to be our focus. There'll be plenty of time to do AARs, but right now, our mission is to secure that airfield, defend that airfield, and evacuate all those who have been faithful to us. There'll be many postmortems on this topic, but right now is not that time. Right now, there are troops at risk, and we are the United States military, and we fully intend to successfully evacuate all American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. All American citizens who want to get out of Afghanistan. They are our priority number one. In addition, we intend to evacuate those who have been supporting us for years, and we're not going to leave them behind. And we will get out as many as possible. Our troops in Kabul are taking high risks to accomplish that mission. Every minute, these troops are on the ground, making difficult decisions with incredible skill, incredible bravery, and incredible valor. Let me make one comment on the intelligence, because I'm seeing all over the news that there are warnings of a rapid collapse. I have previously said from this podium and in sworn testimony before Congress that the intelligence clearly indicated multiple scenarios were possible. One of those was an outright Taliban takeover following a rapid collapse of the Afghan security forces and the government. Another was a civil war, and a third was a negotiated settlement. However, the time frame of a rapid collapse that was widely estimated and ranged from weeks to months and even years following our departure. There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this Army and this government in 11 days.
Gentlemen, if I may. Mr. Secretary, you mentioned the urgency of ramping up the pace of the evacuation. So you have a safe passage agreement with the Taliban, but in fact, in some cases, American citizens, Afghans who are at risk or who are being advised to go to the airport are unable to get into the airport because of Taliban checkpoints and so forth. So are you considering other ways that you can get around that problem by, for example, sending forces out beyond the airport to collect people and bring them, escort them into the airport? If I may ask General Milley, with the rapid collapse of the Afghan forces, there's large amounts of weaponry that are kind of out there now that were either surrendered or abandoned by the Afghan forces or otherwise captured by the Taliban. Are there ways you can, are you considering ways that you might destroy some of that equipment to avoid it falling into the Taliban's hands?
Thanks, Bob. In terms of whether or not we intend to send forces outside of the airfield to collect up American citizens or Afghans who are special immigrant visa applicants, the forces that we have are focused on security of the airfield, and you know how important that is, and you know what happens if we lose the ability to provide that security. And so I don't want to detract from that, and we have to make sure that we can not only secure the airfield, but as the chairman said, defend it as well, because there are a number of threats still in the environment. I certainly don't want to do anything to make the airfield less safe, and we won't do that. But we will continue to coordinate and deconflict with the Taliban and make sure that those people that need to get to the airfield have the right credentials to ensure passage, and the Taliban has been checking those credentials, and if they have them, they have allowed them to pass. So.
And on the equipment, Bob, we obviously have capabilities, but I'd prefer not to discuss any operations other than what we're doing right now in order to get our evacuation out and get that complete. And then there'll be another time when we can discuss future operations.
Barb?
I would like to press both of you on the same points. General Milley, you say in your statement that one of your tasks is to evacuate all American citizens from Afghanistan who desire to leave. There are Americans clearly all over Kabul. There may be Americans in other parts of the country. How can the U.S., the Pentagon, live up to that task of evacuating all Americans, because we continue to see the violence just outside the airport, and how would you get them around the country unless you go get them?
Well, two things, Barbara. One is State Department, as you know, as I've said, is working with the Taliban to facilitate safe passage of American citizens, U.S. passport holders, to the airport. That's the primary means, and under the current conditions, that's the primary effort. We have capability to do other things if necessary.
Well, can I ask you what that means? Because you also said there were international special forces there that have a capability to extract, and those words suggest very clearly in the military realm, you would go get people.
Well, that would be a policy decision, and if directed, we have capabilities that can execute whatever we're directed.
Thank you.
Louis?
And I would draw a distinction, Barb, between extracting someone in an in extremis condition or circumstance versus going out and collecting up large numbers of American citizens.
Do you have the capability to go out and collect Americans?
We don't have the capability to go out and collect up large numbers of people, Barb.
Louis, go ahead.
Safety, and also about the Afghan security forces. Did you feel that they were ever up to this fight, or did you not see this coming, that they were not up to the fight?
Well, I stood behind this podium and it said that the Afghan security forces had the capacity, and by that I mean they had the training, the size, the capability to defend their country. This comes down to an issue of will and leadership. And no, I did not, nor did anyone else, see a collapse of an army that size in 11 days.
Idris?
Thank you. If August 31st